In your first year, how many um, listings did you walk out of and said, this is not for me? Yes, in your first year. Now you have the confidence, but in your first year.
Sure. I don't think any. It's not a lever you have to actually pull on very often, but having the energy that would I have if they were
Ah,
unreasonable with their price point or things like that. Absolutely. I never thought that I was in the business of collecting listings. That just doesn't sound attractive to me.
mhm.
Does that make sense? What are you saying, John?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but you started, you said 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, in COVID times. Yeah, so
Yeah, the trade-offs for sure. It would have been nice in Austin, Texas to start like 3 years ago where it was a historic market rise, but there's benefits from starting when the tide's coming out too.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother thing too. I mean, you are doing what you're doing in a shifting market, and especially in your market, it's really, really difficult. Yet you're here winning. You're going to do 600 grand in a market where people are saying the sky is falling. So that's another discussion for another day, and it's because of what we just talked about for the last 30 minutes. David, go ahead. You got a question for Johnny?
Yes. So earlier you mentioned that you interview the prospects at the table. Um, Two questions here. Is that using the upfront agreement, going through that whole flow, or do you ask, some other questions around that?
Yeah, that's part of it. I do set myself up for the close at the beginning, and I've done that previously in other careers, but it made it. Brandon punctuated that for me. I was like, yeah, absolutely, it has to happen every time. But so what happens after I do that walk? I set my bag down, I do the walkthrough, I establish rapport during that time. Say, hey, would it be okay if we take a sit down right here? And then I have a actual clipboard with questions written out on it, and so that they can see that I'm about to start interviewing them and I'm about to start asking them questions. And then I tell them, hey, would it be okay if I just run a few questions that are going to kind of give me some context here? I really want to understand what's going on so I can best serve you. And there's no them asking me questions. I'm asking them 5 to 7 questions, just boom, boom, boom. And I'm jotting down. And it's very obvious with the clipboard and the fact that I set it up. And so that puts me in a driving, controlling position, a leadership position. If they interject with their own questions, like how many homes have you sold in the neighborhood? I'm gonna just parry off that, say, hey, absolutely, would love to address that. Can I just finish getting a little context right here? And I promise we'll get right back to that. Something like that.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, yeah, no, you answered that. I mean, could you share some of those questions maybe with Brandon? You can get back to us in a few days. If not, solely okay. To tell and this at the end when you do get to, the close and, how do you work around your position when, in the upfront agreement, if both of us decide it makes sense for us to work together, rather than saying, I'll think about it. How do you get to the end? They say, think about it. You just walk out there, assuming that there's no business done if you don't get the listing agreement signed right there and then.
I'm not hard closing there most of the time. I mean, I do probably like a third of the time. Like we'll have like a very firm handshake or pull something up and start signing stuff. But the majority of the time, I'm getting like a handshake promise, and I have a whole follow-up sequence where the moment I walk out the door, I text my assistant. She sends over the digital listing agreement over to them, and then it has a pre-recorded Loom video that explains it to them in detail that immediately follows. And then I call them like 30 minutes later and I say, hey, it's in your inbox, super excited. And I get a judgment for there whether they're comfortable with moving forward, that hour or not.
Wow. No, that's amazing. I was kind of thinking about, detach from the outcome. If I don't get the listing signed there, consider it a loss. It's okay, move on to the next one. But no, that's thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I don't quit on it until they've signed with someone else for sure. The other thing I do is if I couldn't close it there and they're interviewing other people, then I'll go home and I'll do a deep dive Loom on their property, and I'll pull up their property and I'll pull up comps and I'll show them how bad their photo selection was. And then I'll show them where they need to be priced at, and I'll show them the active competition. And I'll do like a 10-minute Loom video, and I'll send that over right after the listing appointment that evening. And that usually gives me like an extra head of steam. And I also send a loom before the listing appointment that shows all of my recent sales. So I'm kind of just dropping landmines all over the place for any other competitive agent because they're typically not doing those things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and David, we talk a lot about in the community, what are you doing, to Johnny's point, that your competitors are not. This is why to leverage Loom as much as he's talking about really, really, really sets you apart, because it's showing prospects that you're thinking about their interest while you're not sitting there in front of them. And the fact that you're pulling, it's a deposit that's being made. And so how can we always make deposits? I'm sure Johnny does stuff like that all the time with his referral partners. We just don't have time to get into it all. It's, if you want to make a withdrawal, and a withdrawal in this context is getting a consumer to say, yes, I want to hire you. You have to ask yourself, well, is my bank account with them full or empty? Because if you ask for a withdrawal with an empty bank account, you're going to get an error. And that's what most agents do, is they haven't deposited enough value to make that withdrawal. That makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for answering all the questions. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. Letitia, go ahead.
Hi. Oh, Johnny, thanks. So much of what you said really, really hit me. But listen, you mentioned that you moved to Texas. Obviously, you were doing all the cold calling, but when you first started out, I'm also calling expireds. I understand now amplifying the skills and the leverage. Give me some kind of time frame that it took you to get the scripts, jump in and start having some things happening when you first started out, a timeline, if you don't mind.
It was pretty fast for me. I'd worked in a call center when I was like 22 or something like that. So I was pretty
Mm-hmm.
comfortable on the phone. And again, I did very high level sales for 8 years. So I got a listing appointment on my third dial, actually. But so I sold I sold $1 million a month for my first 6 months, and then I ate crow for about 5 months and didn't sell
Okay.
anything over the winter. And that was a very challenging time. So yeah.
Okay. Good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Brady.
Hey, Johnny. So when you've identified a referral partner and you maybe just kind of your initial meeting with that referral partner, can you kind of give me a little bit of a script on or what you say to them, just kind of your cold intro, or how do you kick that off?
Yeah. So while I'm there with him face to face already.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So first, I'm going to be just sincerely curious about everything about them and their business. So I'm going to constantly try to steer it back to them, talk about myself less and talk about them more, and just learn everything that I can. And at the end of that meeting, I'm going to say, hey, you probably have a go-to real estate agent that you refer all of your clients and friends to. Am I right? And most often they're going to say no. And then I'm going to say, well, can I be that guy? And they're going to say, well, sure. I mean, tell me what that means. And I'll go down that route. But if they say yes, then I'm going to pivot and say, oh, man, I knew you would, but here's what I specialize in. And I'm going to ask them, could I be could I be your guy for something very particular and niche? Would you be open to sending me someone like that? When I say, can I be that guy? Then and they say, well, okay, tell me what that means. I was like, well, what I'd love to do, I mean, man, I really like you, you're so cool, I'm such a big fan of what you're doing here. I would like to put you on my VIP list. And what that means to me is I'm going to call you once a month, every month, and call can be as short as you would like it to be, or we can go deeper if you'd like. And I just want to be a thought partner in your business, and I want to help you be successful, and I want to help your business grow. And so the object of that call is just for me to really help you solve any problems or be a sounding board or a thought partner in anything that you're working on whatsoever. If you need to hire a new employee, I'm going to start thinking about where can I help you find that person. If you're getting tied up with, your sales script here or there, right? I want to be the guy who helps you break down that next step on what you're going to do. And so sometimes our calls will be 2 minutes. Sometimes we'll go deep. Is that something that'll work for you? They say, sure. And then I let them know. And hey, my goal here is to be your go-to real estate resource for all your clients. And as much as I would love for you to refer me a buyer or a seller who's ready to go, that's all well and good. But really, I'm about relationships. I just want to be an extension of your business. If they need a vendor, if they need, the highest and best use of an investment property, I just want you to be able to call me and trust me that I'm not going to try and strong arm them into putting a for sale sign out front. I'm just going to be an extension of your business. I'm after the long-term relationship. I don't care if they're selling next year or in 10 years, I'll be in business.
Good. So you really offer them a lot of value at that meeting. I mean, right off the bat, you're offering them quite a bit of value based off just those nuggets of what you've been talking about there.
Yeah, and then their name goes on a board, and I stare at the board at a certain time every week, and I think about what can I do to help this person, and I go one down the list, and when it's easy, it feels awesome. Sometimes it's not so easy, and that also factors into when they fall off my list. If I don't look forward to calling this person, and I'm putting a new person into that funnel every week, then someone that's been on the list for 6 months, and I'm not excited to call them, and I can't figure out how to help them, they'll drop off the list.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll just add too. I know we only got not that much time left, but we'll get to Sarah, Mark, and we'll end with Kareem. Johnny, are you doing any? So like with all my VIPs, we do a monthly mastermind, and then I invite some of them to a quarterly event that they can help sponsor to get their name out there. Are you doing a mastermind that you're leading?
That's happening right now. That's getting planned, but I've been piggybacking off some very successful ones that I've found my way into that have a ton of, fruitful referral partners. So I've been able to piggyback off of other people's that have worked out very, very well for me. Not the typical group that is just like a bunch of hands out folks, like really established guys. So I've been fortunate for that, but we're moving into that phase now.
Yeah, that's what you guys for the community. That's what's worked really well for me as a mastermind led monthly get together that I'm leading. And the mastermind is not a referral networking thing. It's a mastermind group where everyone comes there with one good idea that they're doing for marketing, lead generation, client service, and you leave with a page and a half of notes. And that's how the networking is built. So, and then I always give my referral partners an opportunity to be the face and the brand of a quarterly event. All right, Sarah, go ahead.
Hey, hi Johnny, how are you?
So good.
I have a couple questions. One is to piggyback off of Brady's question. You mentioned that you like call your referral partners every month. Do you make these calls like is there one specific day, a week or a month where you're like, I'm gonna call my referral partners, or do you break it down to like, this is who I'm gonna call, or this somebody in this industry, so I'm gonna call this week, or how do you break that down?
Monday mornings.
Monday morning.
Right after calling the hot expireds, I call them every Monday morning. And so if you got 40 people on your list, you call through 10 a week and you get through the whole list in a month.
That makes sense. Okay, and then my second question was, I know you mentioned earlier that you, when John asked you like you basically like walk away from the listing appointment, and that walk away is what gives you leverage, and you don't always sign on the spot. So my question is, do you even give price recommendations when you go on those appointments, or do you just give that after?
So it depends. And this is probably not going to be, and this is not a best practice I would share with a lot of people. Depending on the personality type of the person I'm talking to, I'll withhold my price opinion sometimes till after. Yeah. And sometimes, frankly, it's just because I'm not perfectly prepared.
Gotcha.
That's really what it is. I don't want to. Pricing the property is incredibly important, and it's important especially in this market and where I'm at. And there's a lot of different geographies, and I don't necessarily have the time for the deep dive always, and so I don't always prioritize it. But I'm so good at the listing appointment, I can get away with that. And I'm so good at controlling expectations and stuff, I can get away with that. And so then it buys me time once to do the deep dive that night. And then that's when I'll send them that Loom video, and they'll be like, oh, this is all the clarity you promised. And it works out in my favor in that way. I don't recommend that. I'd be prepared if all things being equal.
Yeah, and what Johnny just said, Sarah, is exactly right. He and I do it the exact same way. It's that we're winning the client before we do the work. And so to do the deep dive on the pricing analysis and positioning happens after we've acquired the client, not before we've acquired the client. That just takes a lot of experience. So like him as your coach, I would say you're not gonna do that yet, Sarah. But eventually, that's what you want to get to.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Let's go to Mark, and then we'll end with Kareem. Go ahead, Mark.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So my question is a little bit more on when you're first starting out. Obviously, that low-hanging fruit, at least for you, is for expired listings, right? Making those phone calls. And a lot of people, the advice is stop chasing rabbit holes and going after everything else. Not to say don't plan on adding something like referral partners down the road, right? Where would you suggest kind of finding a balance? Everyone's a little different on, yeah, you're making the calls now, but when the time comes, how much time would you dedicate to something like that?
Make your calendar exactly or similarly to the one that Brandon lays out in the coaching program. And then when you add things into there, you just have to cap how much time you spend on it and do an audit and see. So if I'm trying to build a social media program, if I'm trying to build a referral partner program, how much time does it really take me to go to the appointments, to set the appointments, to, make the posts and edit the things and really look. And if you're spending, a substantial percentage of your time creating, again, what I'm calling future business. Like, it'll be great to have like a very mature social media channel that does your lead follow-up for you in the future when you have leads to follow up with. But it doesn't make a lot of sense if you don't have the money coming in right now, right? If you don't have the money coming in right now and you don't have the skills coming in right now, because you're not learning how to talk to clients when you're on Canva. You're learning how to talk to clients by talking to clients. So you got to do the thing that maximizes your skill and brings income in as quickly as possible. I would love to have started like a YouTube channel 2 years ago, right? That would have been great. But I've made so much that just today, I have a full-time employee now who started today, who's going to film, edit, post in office 24/7. So I could have done a bad job on it, spending 10 hours a week and made way less money, or I can focus on the thing that brings money in sooner. And now I can pay somebody who's going to do a way better job at it. And it's going to grow 10 times faster than if I were doing it.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense.
The whole idea, Mark, is to level up, meaning like a video game. You have to conquer one level to go to the next level. You can't have money problems now and worry about making future money when you don't have any money now. Not to say that that's the case for you, Mark, but that's what most agents do. Is they have a money problem. And it's like, well, how am I going to build my social media and how am I going to build referral partners, my YouTube? It's like, wait a minute, that's all future business. We have to solve the now money problem first. That's level one. Once that is solved, which is 80% of the issues in this community and in this industry, by the way, is making now money. Once we've solved that problem, do we go to level 2 and worry about the future income? So
And the skills problem, Brandon, and the skills problem, because your YouTube channel will suck when it's you doing a bunch of other agents' listings. It's just not even good. It's not even believable. But you'll have so many anecdotes when you had just closed 4 deals this past month. You'll have unlimited anecdotes and experience to pull from. You'll be authentic, believable. The skills will be there, and you'll just keep going.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to last one. Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Kareem.
Hey, I appreciate all the golden nuggets, Johnny. Just want to ask, you may or may not have answered this question already. What are you doing to get in touch with your referral partners? Are you doing like outbound? Like, how are you meeting them?
Yeah, so I hired a VA to prospect for me for a while, and so they were just setting appointments for me. So I did that probably like 3 months in, and that actually worked out really well for me. If I had unlimited time, I'd start that up, but I just don't have time for all those appointments. And now you basically, short answer, find someone that's good for you and ask them to introduce you to the person who you're looking for. So that for most people on here, that'll be start with a lender who's been doing it for a really long time, has a great network. Tell that lender, say, hey, I'm really looking to meet a few financial planners. Do you know any? Financial planners, I think, are probably the best avatar, like just from, I think they're probably the best. Right. And so then once you make a relationship with one of them, ask them to introduce you to a CPA and just go from there, one to the next to the next.
Okay, got it. So just kind of going off of one to the next one. And so that makes sense.
Yep. Lenders, title. Yep.
It's better than cold outreach in this business to business world, Kareem. I mean, you can do it, but it's what he just said is exactly right. I mean, if you can just get a warm introduction and then that person, you're just going to adjacent industries, that's what he also said, if you don't know what he meant. is the reason why he said CPA after financial planners, because those are like Batman and Robin, right? There's all these adjacent industries that are connected at the hip, and that's the best way to build this referral team, this VIP team out.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Dude, Johnny, appreciate you, brother. I know we went over like by 15 minutes, but tons and tons and tons of value. You guys, why don't we give him, go ahead, everybody get unmuted. 3, 2, 1, and give him a huge round of applause. Let's go. Nice job, dude. We appreciate you
Johnny.
very much. And
Hey, thanks, Brandon. Lots of fun.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. Appreciate the value you put in the community. You guys, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Have an awesome week. Take care, you guys.